Welcome back to another episode of Redesign Your Mind podcast. I am your host, Tidra Dagry, and I'm so excited to have you back here today. Now, today's episode for me is going to be a little bittersweet, but I am going to be sharing with you all a lesson that I learned just yesterday. Yesterday, November 17th, my mom passed away. And while it was very hard, obviously, I wouldn't be the mindset makeover mogul. I would not be a mindset strategist if I didn't look for the lesson. This is going to be so much harder. Much harder than I thought it was going to be. Oh, shoot. My mom was the most independent person I've ever met in my life. And she was incredibly talented. Shoot. She was a designer and a seamstress. She was very gifted. Very early on in her life, she started sewing at the age of 8 for her teachers. And she graduated high school and had the opportunity to study in Paris. But being as old-fashioned as my grandmother was, she didn't want her to go. So she didn't allow her to go. So I feel like there was so many things that my mom wanted to do, desired to do, but certain things held her back. And I'm pretty sure that each and every one of you listening can relate to that. I know that I can. You know, we have children, we get married, and we lose part of ourselves. And, you know, as it said, there are so many dreams that get buried with people. And, you know, my mom was one of those people. It seems like the last 3 to 4 years of her life that there was some fire that was lost. You know, her health, she didn't really take care of herself. She had diabetes and, you know, high blood pressure. And in spite of having the sugar, in spite of having diabetes, she, you know, always had something sweet. She always would buy these pre-made cakes at the grocery store. She had cookies. She had candy in jars and Kool-Aid on deck. Soda. I mean, everything that you could possibly think of that she shouldn't be eating, she was eating. And that ultimately is what happened. She had she had 3 strokes about a year and a half ago. And, ever since then, let me say this. She had the 3 strokes, which paralyzed the right side of her body. She couldn't speak. She couldn't hear. She couldn't see. She lost so many of her senses. And eventually, they slowly came back, but they didn't come back 100%. She has been confined to a bed all of this time, and she wasn't herself. That was not my mom. She was super independent. She couldn't stay in a relationship for a long duration of time because she was so set in her ways, and so I don't need a man to do anything for me. I can do it all for myself. And she did. We had a really nice childhood. We lived in a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood. We were always riding in a brand new car. And, while any mother-daughter relationship is going to have its issues, in spite of any issues that we may have had over the years, my mom was one of the most incredible people. She was a very giving person, and she did so much for, me, my brothers, our children. And so she was confined to a bed for about a year and a half. And I know that was really hard for her. And prior to her having these strokes, I feel like she had given up. She lost her sister, and they were very close. And my mom went into this depression that I will probably never understand, after my aunt died. And, I know it sucked. I know it was hard because you just lost a sibling, but she just took it really, really hard. And I feel like she took it harder than losing my brother and, harder than losing her mother. But I guess, I don't have a sister, so, I can't say that I understand the bond that sisters have. So she went into this depression, and I think it was at that point that I feel like she just completely gave up. And she stopped, eating. She would go, days with just eating like a sandwich or something, and nothing healthful at all, not full meals, just, junk food basically. And she was just so depressed to the point where she wasn't eating. And, I told her, I said, Mom, you have to eat. I didn't live in the same city as she did. And, I told her, I said, break out your slow cooker and, put something in there in the mornings, and then that way you have something healthful to eat. Put your rice in the rice cooker, just automate your food so at least you're eating properly. And she was just so depressed she didn't even do that. So I went and got her, and I think she stayed with us for about a week or so. And that wasn't my mom. It was not my mom, the person that popped up in the morning that was always really happy and, just being funny. Like, my mom was probably the funniest person I know. Like, conversations with her there was never a dull moment. And I know that I get so much of my personality and my humor from her, because I think I'm pretty funny, but, that time that she was at my house, that was not my mom. She just slept. I had to make her eat. She would just pick over the food, eat a little bit, and go back to bed. And I really thought her being there around my children would give her like life again and give her some of their energy, and she would want to live, you know what I mean? But that's not what happened. And so I really truly believe that she's I truly believe that she I believe that she felt as though her kids, me and my brother, and our children and their children were good, and that she didn't have to be here anymore. And, I just felt like she just asked God to take her. Because when you've given so much and dedicated so much of your life to your kids, to other people, something, or you get lost in translation. So you're so used to being there for other people that you forget how to be there for you. And I believe that once, my brother and I were out of the house, she took care of my brother for a really long time in his adult life. And I think once he was gone and he was good, she felt like, okay, there's nothing else for me to do for them. They're good. They're good. And I don't think she knew how to find her happiness. And there's the lesson. So much of our lives involves finding and doing what makes us happy. And I think that's a very challenging thing for everybody to achieve. That pursuit of happiness is called a pursuit for a reason. It's something that you always have to pursue. You always have to stay in a particular lane, if you will, of your happiness. And I think we get so caught up in the conditioning that we've all experienced, just with people telling us this is what you should do with your life, this is the type of man you should marry, this is the type of house you should live in, this is the city you should live in, this is the career you need to be in. And we get lost in this sauce, right? We get lost and then we don't know what is real anymore. We don't know who we are anymore, and we damn sure don't know what makes us happy, because we think that it's that man that's going to make us happy. We think that we go to school, we graduate, we go to college, we graduate with this degree. We think that this career is going to make us happy, but it doesn't. We think once we achieve, said goal, that we're going to be happy. And that isn't the case if everything that you feel you desire to do is based on someone else's beliefs about what you should be doing in your life. So I really believe that my mom just didn't know anymore what made her happy. She didn't have the desire to sew anymore, and that for so many years was her thing. Like, she enjoyed that. My mom would stay up all night long hand beating wedding dresses and putting together flower arrangements, like all that. But that is what she loved to do. Seeing her vision come to life at these weddings and at these different events, that is what gave her life. But as she got older, it was hard. It was too hard on her to sit, at the sewing machine for hours and hours on end, with these bright lights in her face, and her vision, all of us have bad vision in my family. All my kids, we all wear glasses, Lord have mercy. But, so once she wasn't able to really sew the way that she once was, then she didn't know what the heck to do with herself. She didn't know what else she was passionate about, because she had gotten she just pursued one thing all of her life. And then when that one thing, she was no longer able to do it effectively or efficiently, she was like, then what? All of my kids are gone. All of the grandkids are gone. Like, now what? Now what do I do? And that is the lesson, because when my mom passed yesterday, we all go through this questioning, like, why? Because in my head, my mom was going to recover, because she was the strongest woman that I knew. I felt like she was going to fight it and, and completely recover. But I just don't think that's what she wanted for herself, because I truly feel like, if in her head, if she survived, what am I going to do with my life? Where do I go from here? So the whole point of this podcast is you have to know that you know what makes you happy. Who cares what other people think? Don't allow anyone to tell you that this is what you should do with your life. Because at the end of the day, it is your life. And you don't want to be at the end of it and have regrets. I think it was Tina Turner on one of her her 121st birthday. That woman is old, but she looks amazing. And if I'm not mistaken, she was being interviewed by Oprah. And, I think it was Oprah. I might be lying. But whoever was interviewing her asked her, what is you've achieved so much in your life. What is something else that you want to accomplish? And she simply said, I just want to die empty. And what she meant by that was, I want to, she, at the end of her life, she wanted to have done everything that she ever desired to do. She had given all that she wanted to give. She had traveled to the places that she wanted to go. She had all of the things that she ever desired to have. She just wanted to die empty. And I think that should be a desire for each and every one of us, is to go after your dreams every single day. Like it's your last. Like it's your last day. You have to pursue what makes you happy. And, sitting around wasting time should not be an option. Right? Because there are people who would love to come back and use that time that you are wasting. So we have to know what makes us happy, and we have to pursue that as if it were our last day. Don't be my mom and fall into this depression and basically die because of it. Die because you're so unhappy and you just don't know how to get up again. Don't be my mother. Don't be that. Don't do that. Because my mom was still very young. She was 65. And, she still had a good 30 plus years to live. But she gave up. So don't be my mom. Don't give up on yourself. There is, so much more to life than just being depressed and just not wanting to be here. So that is the podcast for today. Probably the hardest thing I've ever had to record in my life. I'm not even going to edit this. So there's, I know there was a lot of dead air when I was trying to just catch my breath over here, but just live your life to the fullest. And do what you want to do because that is what you want to do, and not because it's what other people say you should do or what other people say you're good at. Thank you so much for listening.